Hi everyone, welcome back. Your eyes do not deceive you. This is the second video I have put out in the same month. I know, very unexpected. I'm very magnanimous, but the reason for this is that Strixhaven just dropped, and this new set is very exciting. I have been enjoying Limited a lot. If you don't normally play Limited, I highly recommend this set. It's very flavorful. The games are fun, and I would say give it a shot. I don't really play much Limited at all, frankly. I haven't really taken the time to learn a Limited set, in the past 3, 4, 5 years. So for me to be saying that this is fun and you should come back to it, definitely, the opposite of take that with a grain of salt, whatever, phrase that means. Anyway, why are we here? We are here because we are trying to test some of the new Strixhaven cards. And the card that, kind of leapt out to me as a thing that might warrant an inclusion in a Pokepile style of deck is Quandrix Apprentice. So a lot of people are experimenting with Witherbloom. I definitely spelled Wither wrong. I didn't draft any of these yet? Oh my god. All right. Sorry. So a lot of people are experimenting with the card Witherbloom Apprentice, which each of the 5 colleges has their own apprentice. It's an uncommon 2-drop in both the colors that has Magecraft ability. And the Witherbloom Apprentice Magecraft ability is that when you cast or copy an instant or sorcery, you drain your opponent for 1. And, as most people know, pretty much I think anyone watching my sort of videos will know, is that this combos with the card Chain of Smog, which is an old card from Onslaught, which it's a discard, but the person who it targeted can copy the spell, and they can choose new targets for the copy. And this combos with the Apprentice. You just target yourself. You keep repeating it and copying it and draining your opponent out. So it's, a Splinter Twin situation. That combo is interesting. It's definitely a little bit fragile. You do have to discard your whole hand to, get Chain of Smog going. And when you're not comboing, either card on its own is not particularly impressive. Chain of Smog, you never really want to target your opponent with it because they'll just copy it and target you. And so it's... And the way I've seen games play out, it doesn't really quite work as a fair card. And the combo itself might be good enough to see play. Certainly people are doing the science. But I wanted to experiment with something in a more fair strategy, a more reasonable card when you're not trying to do something like Broken. Or kind of like the floor is higher. And so this card caught my eye. Quandrix Apprentice. That's the blue-green Apprentice. And the Magecraft is when you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell. Look at the top of your cards in your library. You may reveal a land card from among them and put that card into your hand, and the rest go on the bottom. So this is kind of a unique effect. It is powerful in the right shell, and I think that the Pokepile shell is sort of the type of shell that you would want it in, because you play a high land count for Legacy, you play utility lands that you want to find, and you play Raven's Crime. And these two cards synergize very well together because, when you retrace Raven's Crime, that's casting a spell. This triggers Magecraft. Most of the time that will find you another land, which lets you retrace Raven's Crime. And then you kind of, it's a nice little value engine that you have going there. So the things have changed. I've cut 1 copy of Loam, and I've cut 1 copy of Lilyvale for these 2, or I guess... How should I put this? I cut 1 copy of Loam and I cut 1 copy of Sylvan Library for the 2 apprentices. And then I changed a Lilyvale into 3rd Raven's Crime because I think these cards do similar things. And then this one is, more graveyard centric and works better with the apprentice. So I wanted to try the 3rd one. This was also, I was considering it to be Uro number 4, just because that also kind of synergizes with having a bunch of lands in hand, in the sense that, in order to use this card effectively, I think you need a few things going. You need a high land count. You need ways to abuse putting multiple lands in your hand. And there's a few ways to go about that. I think one way is breaking the 1 land per turn restriction, which Uro does. And the other way is to, play retrace cards that turn the lands into useful spells. And I think Raven's Crime is the best retrace card in the game for that sort of thing. So it was a toss-up between these two. I'm going with Crime now for now. I think it just synergizes better with the Apprentice, and I think 4 Uros is a little bit clunky, personally. And then I have 2 copies of Flusterstorm. I cut the Stifle for the second Flusterstorm. Sorry, Stifle. We love you, but with Apprentice in the deck, I think you just want to be playing more of this card because each copy lets you trigger Apprentice, and so this can be like a pretty good way to gas up your hand with lands, and then either brainstorm them back or do other things with them. So very small changes, but I'm gonna go through the 3-match set again, and with a specific focus on like how good or bad this card is, and if it is better or worse than Loam. My intuition is that, and this is not a satisfying answer, but at some points it will be better, at some points it will be worse. And I think it'll be better when you want to be taking draw steps, like you need to find more action. It'll be better in the early game because Loam for 0 or 1 lands is not particularly good. And it'll be better when you need creatures or you need blue cards. So we will see how the games go, and let's hop right in. All right, here we are for the first game. We've won the die roll, always a good thing. And hey, we even have the card we're trying to test out in our opener, so and a free spell to back it up. So I think this is a keep. And really the only thing I'm thinking about on turn 1 is if I should play around Stifle or not. You know what? I think I will. Like, I'm not really punished for fetching a basic forest turn 1 with this hand. Interesting. So it looks like they're trying to hold up Stifle or Lightning Bolt or Daze. So I think I'm just going to pass this turn. If they tap out for a threat, I get to decay it. If they hold up mana, it's also fine. I'm going to fetch in response. Just get a basic swamp. It's a little annoying if I draw like, a Ponder or Brainstorm where I can't Apprentice plus that next turn. But I have found that, especially against I'm assuming this is Delver, it could be Sneak and Show, but against Delver especially, it's usually just worth it to get your mana situated up solidly, where even if it has some small downsides in the early couple turns, usually in the long game it's worth it. So that's the assumption I'm going with. And I think here I'm just going to play Arrow, kind of because I can't do anything with this yet. And I wouldn't really want to force a Will a Lightning Bolt on it. And I'll play around Wasteland here for a bit. I'm so excited for this card, it might just end up being a blue pitch. Depressing. Okay, we did it. So I'm going to play this, then I'm going to play UC Ponder. Okay. Maybe I should have fetched first before I played this just to bait out a Stifle. That is certainly a possibility. Triple Bulk feels like Delver, but what do I know? That's fine. If this finds a land, it's a 2-for-1. It did find a land. Pretty reasonable land, too. I think at this point I'm just looking for a blue card for this Force of Will. Yeah, seems good to me. Ooh, maybe I should have kept the Trop there, huh? So that I could escape Arrow, around Stifle. That probably would have been better. The second Decay is not doing anything. Yeah, that was loose. That was loose. Yeah, I'm actually pretty unhappy with that sequencing. I don't think I want to play out the Sanctuary yet. It would just be a tapped blue source. I don't think I want to ponder yet either. I think I just pass and next turn draw the Trop and fetch and escape Arrow. Okay. Well, not what I expected. That's okay. If they have a Wasteland for that, like, I'm not fretting because I have the Trop underneath. If nothing happens, I will decay this end step just so that I can escape Arrow next turn without like having to worry about it. I'm gonna take the 1 damage and see if they play something scarier. Now we have to escape Arrow, and we have Decay mana up, so blue, green, green, blue. So I guess if I was going to put, I think with the Mystic Sanctuary, I would probably just put a cantrip on top. Well, I only have to leave 1 card in, so it's either a land for Loam or a spell for Sanctuary. I have the Sanctuary in hand, I don't have Loam in hand. But at the same time, like, yeah, I'm just going to leave it in a land. This might be incorrect, but sure. But like, I didn't really want to put any of those spells back on top of my library at this point. Like, if anything, I'd want to put back a Force of Will. Or if I want to put back removal, I have removal in hand that I can cast and put back on top. So, I don't know. I'm also not entirely sure what my opponent's playing. Like, obviously they're playing some sort of Splinter Twin combo deck, but I don't really know the rest of the cards. Doesn't my opponent know that there's a new Splinter Twin in Legacy with Witherbloom Apprentice and Chain of Smog? They could just be playing that. It's cheaper. It's half as much mana, basically. And it has haste. Splinter Twin doesn't have haste. It has flash, though, so it's, like, comparable. So I'm going to do this, pay for days. It feels like they have the combo. If they days again, well, at that point, yeah, at that point, I can't even, I've already played my land for a turn, so I couldn't have a removal spell anyway. So, like, it feels like they're trying to tap me low so that they can combo. I feel like, so they have 1 land in hand, right? They return to land, yeah. So they have 3 unknowns. Need to be like forest blue card. Splinter Twin, and then even then, currently I beat that. I'm going to counter this. That's fine. Because I do still have the removal for this spell. So I don't know what they're going to do. They're probably tapping this. I'm going to float a black mana. So they would need to have like another Daze and a Splinter Twin, basically. This comes out untapped. Just do this now. Okay. We're in good shape. We have Uro in play. They have a land and 2 unknowns in hand. I'm guessing one of them is Splinter Twin, which is currently useless. We got to untap with this Uro. I am going to actually do this just so now I have Revolt for push. And also, I think I want to Dredge just because Wasteland and Raven's Crime are good draws here. We did find Wasteland, so that's good. So I think this is going to be pretty simple fetch. Get back to lands. So I could actually just like let this happen and Dredge Loam instead of drawing. I mean, that probably is correct, right? So yeah, I'll just Dredge this instead of drawing, put this into play. Probably doesn't hurt to kill it now because I have Revolt. I probably would just fawn a cantrip. Okay, so blue-red twin. It looks like they have the Hullbreacher plus Daze and doing combo too, potentially. I am, I'm a little unsure of everything in the deck, which also means I'm a little unsure of how to board. I know. Probably just want this as well. Plague Engineer. That's interesting, actually. Plague Engineer could name whatever Deceiver Exarch is, and then all the tokens are 0/3s. So that like does kind of stop the combo in a funny way. I'm gonna bring in Wilt because he can hit Splinter Twin, and they might be playing like Blood Moon or something to that effect. And then once I'm more sure, I should say, I will readjust. I mean, other than that, I feel like I don't mind Force of Wills. I guess maybe Jace is a little too slow. Like, I don't think I need it to win. I can win with, Uro. And I do feel like I just want most of the removal. This is difficult. Fatal Push needs Revolt most of the time, so maybe that's suspect, but at the same time, I'll cut the Leovold. I think Ravenscrime is good against them because they are basically a combo deck. I mean, they are a combo deck. Maybe Strix is just mopey. I think that's fine. I don't... Like, they're not pressuring my life total, really. And... Like, maybe if they play... If I say, like, Narset, then I'll bring it back in just because Strix lines up well against Narset. Also, I don't think they have Stifle anymore, so I will... Actually, yeah. These are all pretty good. I probably just want the Hydroblast. Yeah, let's just do this. So this is one issue I'm noticing a little bit with Apprentices, that you don't necessarily just want to run it out on turn 2 because it can be interacted with. Whereas if I had Loam, I could have just, fetched twice and, cast Loam. So I'm just going to fetch for... let's get an Underground Sea. Like, we'll play into Blood Moon like a tiny bit so that we can Apprentice plus Brainstorm next turn. And if that hurts us, then it hurts us. So I'm going to do this now. Actually, I'm going to Brainstorm. And I guess I'm drawing all these cards, right? Yes. Now it's just a question if I want to play around days with this carpet. I think I do want to play around days with the carpet. And I will put the... I don't have blue this turn. I'm not going to have blue on their turn for Hydroblast anyway. So actually, I think I'm going to run out the Bayou so that if they have Blood Moon, it looks like a more enticing thing for them to play. And then we get to go basic Forest Carpet. If they try to force that, we have Hydroblast. Or, sorry, it doesn't quite work the way I want, but... yeah. If they force it, we have Hydroblast for the Blood Moon. I'm just going to leave one of these dangling. If they want to counter it or kill it, I'm like okay with that. I just don't really want to play Hullbreacher like at sorcery speed. I'd rather try to like mess up their mana. So let's make blue. Cast this. It's fine, actually. I'm just going to do this now to play around days. That's awkward. You know what? I have 2 cantrips, so I'm just going to do this. I know they might have cantrips too. They also might have another Hullbreacher. Both of these things are bad for me. I mean, the cantrips aren't bad for me, but second Hullbreacher would be backbreaking with this hand. That's good. Arrow's good, but like pretty uncast. Like I can actually never cast Arrow with my mana base through a Blood Moon, which means I would have to Hydroblast it. What do they do with the Ponder? Choose not to shuffle. They don't have Hullbreacher, so it feels like they have a. I just feel like Raven's Crime is good because next turn I can discard 2 cards from their hand. So yeah, I'm going to. So blue, green, red. I suppose if they have Exarch plus Twin here, I do technically. So let's just ponder now. Because if they have Exarch. They would tap my blue mana anyway, so it's like I could hold up Hydroblast for this turn, but it wouldn't work. That I'm okay with. Oh, I have a difficult time winning the game now, huh? Wait, can I not win the game because both my apprentices are gone? I think that's true. I think I have no win cons left in the deck because I cut Jace in the and the 2 Plague Engineers. Maybe I should leave in the Jace. Yeah, they literally killed all 3 of my creatures and surgical the arrows. So I think I'm dead. But I'll keep playing to see more of their deck. I mean, it's a reason to leave in the Leovold. Just like another creature to win the game with. Certainly possible. I guess I'll just make blue mana. And I'll just Dredge Loam next turn to clear out the 2 lands I put on top of my library. You could also just cycle this Wilt. I don't think I would want to Wilt the Blood Moon at this point. So again, I can't win. I'm just playing for information. I will decay this. Hey, real quick, editor Jeff here. So we basically just passed the turn, about 5 turns, 10 turns in a row, and nothing particularly interesting happens. So I am just going to cut it, move to the next round. No real relevant information other than they showed me a Prismari command. All right, I think we're good. So yeah, a little unfortunate that like literally all of my creatures were killed in like the first part of the game, but I do think I need one more win con, probably. Could be Jace, could be Leovold. I think Leovold's a little bit better. They play Days. So it's like cheaper, which is nice. And then they also draw cards with their cantrips. Doesn't matter what card to cut. I think I just want the removal for sure. Fatal Push is like more suspect because you need Revolt for all their creatures pretty much. Engineer can also kill Snapcaster Mage, which is interesting. So those are the 2 cards I'm thinking about. Maybe 3 Flusterstorm is overkill. I could see that. I'm like thinking about cutting Ponder, but that might just be a little bit lazy. Hard to say. Could just be another Force of Will. It could just be the Plague Engineer. I think that is like a little bit unlikely to happen again, where like all of my creatures somehow die. I can also just fight over Surgical, like Engineer situation where Flusterstorm will counter Surgical, or I have a Force of Will up if they want to untap, or play an Escape Row in 1 turn. Yeah, so I'll do it first. This hand's pretty good. Going to keep it. I'm going to start with a Raven's Crime. And then, like it sucks that I'm fetching 1 non-basic. But hopefully the Loam will, like, unless they have turn 2 Blood Moon off like an Ancient Tomb, at which point like probably their mana is not so good, so they might not even want to do that. I should be fine. I can also just make sure to hold up like Abrupt Decay mana on future turns. had this one foil Raven's Crime because I was debating between this and the fourth Uro. So this would have been Uro. Which I think this is better here for sure. So score 1 for Crime. Now it's a question of, do I want to dredge Loam? What does my turn look like? My turn is likely play a land, crime them, leave up mana. So I think that Loam is not in the cards for me this turn. Yeah, I'm not going to do it. And then next turn I will Loam. Just get back an extra land. And I think I would Loam before fetching, just because I would want Loam to mill over whatever land this gets, just so that it, you know, turns to a +3. So the awkward thing it'll be awkward next turn if they counter Loam and then have like a 3-drop to play, like Forcible Loam and have a 3-drop to play, because at that point I won't have the mana for Decay to hold it up. But I would still have Fatal Push, so if it's like a creature, I can still kill the creature. But then if they have Blood Moon follow up, that'd be very bad. If they have Blood Moon this turn, obviously I don't care. Because I have Decay for it. Although I will have to make sure to not misclick in the, fetch first, fetch first, float mana, let it resolve, and then say sure. It does look like they're holding up mana. That being said, I do still want a Loam. And they might Surgical, but whatever. I think because I have this Delta in the yard, I am just gonna fetch a basic here. Ooh, actually, So they have Surgical. I don't think I would hit the Misty, but would that matter? Actually, it probably wouldn't matter. So let's just do this. Yeah. Okay. And I'm gonna hold up Abrupt Decay. Like, well, That's actually close. So I could, because I have Fatal Push, but they play Daze, so I think I would rather just like play it safe. Like I'm so likely to win a longer game. Like as if they have, Exarch, Daze, Smush for Twin. Like there's no reason to lose to that when I'm so far ahead. The awkward thing here is that so this loses to Force Blue. All right, so they'd have 5 cards, so it'd have to be like Force Blue card, land, Twin. Otherwise, I would have to fetch away, like fetch to not get a swamp, basically. I think getting a swamp is really important because I do play Blood Moon. And like it, because then I can just decay any future thing Blood Moon. So I'm gonna take a small risk if they have, force blue card, red mana Flusterstorm, or red mana Splinter Twin, then that's fine. That's what they have. But I think this gives me the best shot to win in a longer game. See, now I completely don't care. I'm not even going to judge Loam this turn. I'm just going to... that's a good one, too. I'm going to play this, and then just play out Leovold. Next turn, what I can do is I can Decay Moon, or Wilt Moon, Wasteland them, start Ravenscriming them. So well, there's Loam. So let's start with Crime, I think. Might be a small misstep. That was a small misstep, huh? I'm just going to try to counter this. Or kill this, rather. Oops. If they have the daze, I don't care as much. Yeah, that might have been a slight misstep. I think I should have just played out the land for turn. That probably would have been a little bit better. It feels like they have a cantrip in hand as their last card. As one of the last cards. So it's just a matter of what the other one is. I will draw. Okay. I guess I should start focusing on my clock a tiny bit. So now I could color screw them, or I could quantity screw them, or I could just do both. I think this turn. Actually, it's unclear what I want to do. I think it's just Raven's Crime. I should have gotten a Bayou, huh? I plan to decay the Brazen Borrower. And I'm not sure if I'm trading with Snapcaster. Probably not. I have the Leovold next turn to block it. Not even attacking. It's fine. So you have about a 70-ish% chance to hit off of the Apprentice, which is good. Like, it's not great, obviously, but... And then I'm going to just play out the Leovold. I will just Loam. And then I think so. This is one awkward thing that I'm realizing is that the Mystic Sanctuary is not as good with Apprentice because if I cast a spell this turn, I'm like forced to shuffle. Looks like I don't have to, which is nice. You know, could have been better, but I'm not going to complain. I'll take the... I'll take the Force of Will there. It's pretty good. So this turn, I think I'm just going to crime them. Force whatever they play. Okay. It's not good. Okay, so let's think about what happened in this game. So we had the crime that I was debating between a fourth arrow was very good. Just starting things off and getting the card advantage and discard rolling. How did Apprentice feel this match? We did cast it all 3 games. It felt fine. Like, it felt exactly fine, right? Because it's like, it's not the type of card you run out on turn 2 and then, like, use a Force of Will over to, like, counter removal so you can find a land. So it really is like a turn 3 play in a deck with, like, a lot of 3-drops already. So that one's difficult. But when it got going, it was actually pretty reasonable. Although at that point, I already had Loam going. So, but I think in games where you don't have Loam going, it would have been much better there alongside Crime. So we will. More science must be done, but it wasn't like an incredible like, oh my god, this is so good. It wasn't obviously better than Loam in those games. But yeah, I will see you for round 2. All right, we're back for round 2. Very lucky, we've won the die roll. Hand seems perfectly reasonable. I don't really know what I want to find with Ponder. Like, obviously I want to find lands, but I don't know if I want to find removal. So I think I'm just going to hold up the Trop and hold up Flusterstorm or Brainstorm. I think that's the type of play of someone who's like desperate. And this is still in theory a 2-for-1. Like, it means they don't have a source of blue mana, right? So happy I held up Flusterstorm. And now we know we don't want removal. So this is a good thing. Do we want Wasteland? They don't have mana right now. I'm going to shuffle this. It's a really good pickup. Nick, I think I'm likely going to force pitch Ponder, and then next turn look to Brainstorm back this go for the throat. It's a lot of lands. But it's the beauty of Raven's Crime, is that you get to turn your excess lands into spells. So I guess the question is, do I want to Ponder? I think it's too punishing if I miss a blue card. And I should put this stop in my upkeep so that I remember to fetch. It'd be very bad. Okay. So, looking like Sneak and Show. I'm going to fetch the Underground Sea, just that Mystic Sanctuary is online. Should I need it next turn? And then, so this is rough because they are 1 turn away from going to discard. So I think it's just not worth it to Raven's Crime. And then if they go to discard, next turn I will crime them 3 times, basically. Well, I'll crime them twice and wasteland them. Because I think with the Ponder, they're likely to start being able to hit land drops. And I'm not going to dredge just because I would like to... I wouldn't mind hitting another blue card for this Loam. So black. And I'm fairly confident that wastelanding them is better than playing another Raven's Crime. Just because, when they get to choose the cards, Sneak and Show is a very compact deck where it's just like, they really only need 3 cards to win. I guess we'll say 4. They need like 2 mana versus one of them with duel. Sure. I guess I do want to Loam this turn, because my plan is to crime them twice, then cast Loam. I guess crime them once, cast Loam, and then crime them again. Once again, the foil Raven's Crime coming into play much better than Uro here. So I think with 2 Loams, 2 Apprentice, I think this is a config that would definitely want 3 Raven's Crimes, which I know is a lot. Don't get me wrong. It's fine, I'll just do it next turn. Alright. And now the game's over. We just dredge, get rid of the last card, wasteland them. And they will never be able to keep. It's a 2-card combo deck, and they will never be able to keep more than 1 card in their hand. So I'm liking our chances. Gonna be honest with you. Oh, and we found the arrow. So Bayou, Wasteland, Delta. I should have technically gotten Misty because I can get Basic Forest, but these are things that don't matter. Okay, sneak and show. Let's see. So I definitely want the draw stoppers. I like Hydroblast and Flusterstorm. Surgical is like in the maybe pile. I actually don't mind Run Afoul. Veil of Summer I want. Wilt I want. And I like Force of Vigor too. Just, it's nice to have answers. And this is a maybe card. And then luckily I have so much removal that's garbage. So now I'm done to 1 card. It's probably just the Baleful Strix. This card's so mopey. Like, what does it do? It jumps in front of Griselbrand. That's it. I think that's not worth it. Yeah. Although maybe it's better than an Uro. Uro is really slow. Doesn't really do much of anything. Yeah, okay, let's do that. I could see some crazy like late game where I have like a ton of lands in play and I can, survive the Annihilator hit from Griselbrand. So, or from Emrakul, you know what I mean? Or just jump the Griselbrand. All right, I think this is good. Cool. Didn't get to see the Apprentice that game, but that's okay. I'm gonna keep this. Obviously, the only thing you're missing is lands. Hopefully, Ponder helps with that. They are a turn 2 deck sometimes, so I am going to leave up Flusterstorm on turn 1. And it's really punishing if the first Ponder I cast misses on a blue source. Especially with them not even cantripping, like, it really does feel like actually am going to fluster this. I'm going to fluster this simply because I have a second one in my hand. And because there's some chance, like I'm going to cast Ponder next turn, and there's like a percentage chance that it doesn't find a blue source. So in those cases, I want to be, have that it be that much more likely that my opponent can't win the game, basically. So yeah, they clearly have, business spell plus. This is really good series of draws. Business spell plus fatty, and they were just looking for mana. And then we'll say 2 unknowns. Oh, and they're letting us untap. That's so good. It means they either have like Spell Pierce type interaction and they want to find another land for that, or it means that they have Sneak Attack and can't cast it yet. And I am perfectly fine with hitting my land drops. It's awkward. I can't hardcast Fawn and either of these in the turn. So that is like a reason to potentially ponder. But this could be spewy, huh? No, okay. It's fine. The card I want to draw right now is Raven's Crime. Not because it's particularly good here, but because it's my favorite card. Didn't shuffle and did not play a land. So could be like a 2-mana land that they just didn't want to leave dangling. That's awkward. So I think what's likely to happen is we're likely to fight a fight this turn. And then what I want to do next turn is just like Mystic Sanctuary, put a spell on top of my library. Yeah, so I don't want to crack the fetch. I kind of like those cards that I'm drawing. Although we're getting to the point in the game where Flusterstorm is a little bit dead. So I think I'm actually just going to... Yeah, I'm just going to leave a hardcast Force of Negation and Hydroblast. And then hopefully... Like, the card I want to put on top of my library and draw into is Force of Negation. So obviously, here's what I'm thinking. This is a much more narrow spell. It only hits sneak attack, really. This is a much more generic spell. But the way my opponent has played, it feels like they have some sort of interaction right now. And I would like to work through the tempo of casting this, at some point in the game. Like, it would be nice for me to use my 3 mana this turn, basically, is what I'm trying to say. It was a very long-winded way of saying such a thing. But I just feel like it's likely that my opponent fights over this, and so then I'm still going to get to convert the Hydroblast. Like, I'm not worried about that. I should have moved a little faster. I think it's like the one thing you could argue was potentially a mistake, was that I took too long, and so I kind of telegraphed that I have more than one thing to do here. So I'm going to draw the blue card, basically. It's what it is as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to fetch for an Underground Sea. Then I'm going to put the Fawn on top. And then I will draw it. And I'm not going to use the Wasteland this turn. I'm going to wait a turn just so that I can, have the same kind of thing where I Fawn plus Hydroblast, or Fawn around Daze also. Well, it's a good draw. It's unfortunate because it means that I don't get to play out my Apprentice. This turn I will Wasteland them, though. Because I have, and obviously at this point, I'm not going to play out the Apprentice until I find more green mana. Or I could take a small risk, if I draw like a cantrip. And, all right, let's take a small risk. We have double force. And I think that, this plus the Brainstorm. So what do I get to do this turn? I mean, obviously I'm going to Ravenscram. Oh, so I should just put, okay, so I'm going to clear through whatever I put back, which is like good and bad. So obviously I want to put a land back on top. I could just put back both lands, huh? And then just Ravenscram, draw one of the lands. That kind of seems good, right? Because then I just have force. I would have double force plus Veil plus Hydroblast. Yeah, okay. We'll just put back both lands. It's all coming together. Crime into crime. Nice. The opponent sees the writing on the wall. Okay, cool. This card was so good in a game where we were already fairly favored in. But, I mean, quite frankly, though, I do think that, this would have been a powerful combo, even if we had slightly less going on. Like, if we only had like one force and a veil, I think that this plus this would have been enough to push us through the game. So that's cool. We're certainly learning about Apprentice. I think I will, after this, kind of at the end, put a little blurb of like small things I've learned. So, and like my takeaways of the card. All right, we are back for the third round. Very lucky we've won the die roll again. I think this hand is fine. It doesn't have blue mana right now, but in theory, Loam could potentially get us blue mana in the future. It's never ideal to use your first Loam on nothing, basically, but there's some chance that the Wasteland will be good, and then at least the first Loam gets back a Wasteland. This is the game plan. Breeding Pool, what the heck? Elvish Reclaimer, double, what the heck? Well... Alright, so I think this turn is Wasteland. Next turn is Decay. And then the turn after is Loam, Wasteland, Wasteland. Loam, get back Wasteland, and then Wasteland them. I'm not sure what's happening. I'm going to be quite frank. Like, the Breeding Pool really messes me up. Okay, so it's a Bug Shadow. Suppose if they have Thoughtseize here, it's annoying because I take my Decay. Sure. If in that case, I will just likely just Loam back 2 lands. And like I could have decayed on turn 1 or turn 2 rather, but I think in general it's just not, you know. There's not much these sorts of decks can do too often with 1 mana, and I wasn't necessarily expecting Thoughtseize. Don't really mind that. Ooh, wow, they don't even have a... So I'm going to play into Daze again, just because I highly value wastelanding them. It looks like they're holding up Stifle, but I think that's also just like okay for us. Sure. Because we just get to keep doing this if we want to. So they do that for turn. They would have made this a 3-4 if they had it earlier. So I think now we have to decide if this is worth it. I think it's worth it. We hit the Raven's Crime, which is nice. So now I have to decide if it's better to wasteland them or crime them. I think crime, just because they're going to get to do their thing. So I think it's just better to start making them discard cards. And I think next turn we Underground, Sea, Engineer, and then crime. No judging of Loam. Like they obviously don't have Death Shadow to play. And they can play Garmag with 1 land anyway. Sure. Also fine. I'm gonna do this to play around Daze. If like the last 2 is Force Blue card, then it's annoying. They probably play Delver, so I'll just name Human. And then do this. I don't know what land it matters. I don't think it matters what land we discard or keep. They have an answer for this Plague Engineer. Obviously, it's really rough for us. They are leaving up a rotation from this card, so I'm not going to. I'm likely not going to Wasteland them. I guess it's better to get these because again they can get Sanctuary. I suppose I could have played out the Wasteland to potentially like then they couldn't do this, or they would get Wastelanded at some point. Yeah, that's actually really close. It's between holding up Brainstorm and, doing leaving it Wasteland. Probably leaving it Wasteland was better, quite frankly. I'm not going to judge Loam this turn. I think my turn is just going to be crime them. Ooh, and I dredged into an arrow. That's really good. In retrospect, I think I should have dredged the Loam just because I was going to discard the last card in hand and Brainstorm, so I should have had 3 extra cards in my hand to Brainstorm with. So that was definitely a small misstep on my part. I'm not going to dredge Loam because I believe there's a Force of Negation on top that I don't mind drawing. And then this turn at least is very simple. It's just discard this, escape arrow, waste on them. Yeah. Okay, so close game. Looks like Bug Shadow. EE seems great against them. Flusterstorm seems reasonable. Cut is obviously good. Carpet's good. Veil is good. They play a lot of discard. I think this is reasonable. And then usually what I do is, against them, I usually go down to 2 Force of Wills instead of like 1 versus most other Delta variants, just because they're much faster. And then it's just a matter of like what are the last 2 to get rid of. I still think Jace is probably too slow, especially on the draw. Another reason for Leovold that I do need ways to win the game. Could probably cut like a Singleton Crime. Again, 3 Flusterstorm might be a little too many, but I think it's nice to counter like Hymn to Turok. Countering Thoughtseize is especially nice because they don't lose the life, so the shadows are smaller and or slower. They're playing Stifle too. Flusterstorm is very good against Stifle. Yikes, this one's really close. I think I'm going to keep. I'm hoping to draw, like, obviously a land. And then depending on what they do, I will either Basic Island Ponder or play out the carpet off of a wastable source. If I were them, I'd probably just take the carpet and say, like, yeah, you can ponder for land drops. Oh, they took that. Interesting. Okay. Right. In that case, I'm just going to ponder for a green source. Do I get a trop? I'm going to be a little risky and get a tropical island. Expose myself to Wasteland a bit. My thought was that if I miss on a land drop and they don't have Wasteland, I would really like to be able to cast this Carpet of Flowers. But obviously that's really, really bad against like Daze plus Wasteland. I'm going to run this one out just because like my mana situation is set up, so I don't really care if it dies. And again, you know, you get to use your mana. Getting to use your mana is always good. I have this Uro coming up. Sure. I think this is fine. I have the option of doing this next turn. Okay. So now I'm definitely doing it next turn, assuming I get to. So they have 1 land, 1 unknown. I mean, I'm definitely dredging Loam. I have no other recourse. So let's get Bayou, Wasteland, and yeah, Delta. Just trying to figure out if those were the best 3 lands to get. I think they are. Unfortunately, my next turn is going to be a little awkward because I really don't want my Fatal Push to get dazed. which means I'm like, don't get to play Uro, basically. Did they shuffle? They did shuffle. So if they have force blue card, like, okay, annoying, but I feel like that's actually better. I'm just gonna not take risks. Just gonna do this and then Wasteland them. If they have another day, it's like, it's fine. I'll do this in upkeep if they have Stifle in hand. Which, you know, they didn't Thought Seize me, they didn't Cantrip. Stifle is likely. I'm just going to play the arrow. So, can never get this back, can never get this back, can never get this back, can never get this back. Basically, I think this is better because they could find Surgical. So it's like really important to cast this when you can. And if they, you know, if the last 2 cards were force blue card, like, you know, you still got a 2 for 0. So you can't really complain about your turn. Yeah, cool. Okay, cool. So yeah, not bad. This is a pretty good showing for, you know, the deck. Looking at the list and thinking about how Apprentice performed, so-so, definitely so-so. You know, it certainly wasn't bad. You know, it did what it was supposed to do, which was, you know, draw lands. Sometimes it traded with removal, like we saw in the last game. But if it were an extra copy of Loam there, like, would that have really been that much better? Probably not really, right? Like, I didn't need the extra, like, the excess copies of Loam. And trading with the removal spell, you know, still 1 for 1 on the card. It was a removal spell they didn't have for Uro later on. One thing I will say that I noticed in our games is that against the interactive decks, I didn't really want to run this out on turn 2. Because it's not the type of card you want to Force of Will to protect from removal just so that you can hit your land drop. So it does really feel like a turn 3 play, which in and of itself is not like that bad. Like, I don't think 8 3-drops is like too many. But that was like one thing to note where, you know, even though my thought process is that early game this is better than Loam because, you know, Loam for 1 or 0 lands is like a really terrible play. But there might be some times where, you know, you can just run out Loam on turn 2 to get like a singleton land and not have to worry about removal, whereas you might not want to run out this on turn 2. So that's definitely one thing I wasn't considering initially, is that, you know, like, the early Loam it's not powerful, but it's less vulnerable. Hard to say if that's the type of thing you need. Although I do think that Loam in general is an effect you could float on. Like, the second copy of Loam is usually not particularly useful, but if you draw 1 Loam and 1 Apprentice, like, the Apprentice has value as, you know, a blue card, as a creature, and as a way to add lands to your hand that doesn't sacrifice your draw step. And I think not sacrificing your draw step is a very important quality to have. So that's why I think that this still has a good amount of value. Just because, like, the biggest problem with this deck is that you flood. You need 22 lands because Wasteland isn't really a land; it's more of a spell in your deck. And like you're very color intensive. A bunch of green black spells, green blue, etc. So you need that many lands to kind of get off the ground and like survive and hit your land drops up to the point where you resolve your first Loam or Apprentice plus a couple spells. But then obviously 22 lands is a lot for Legacy, so sometimes you do end up flooding, and it can be difficult to know, like, should I dredge Loam or should I take a natural draw step? And like if you take a natural draw step twice because you need some things and you hit like 1 or 2 lands, like usually that's the game if you don't have like something else going like Uro or a Raven's Crime. And so I think Apprentice, like, being able to break that dynamic is very important. So I'm definitely excited to keep experimenting with this. It's hard to say if this is better than like playing more copies of Loam. Like it's not obvious to me that this is strictly worse than Loam. So I think the unsatisfying conclusion, I think, is that more testing needs to be done. But it certainly showed promise. The thing that impressed me the most about this config was the third Raven's Crime. We have this foil one to know when we would draw it. We drew the foil one in multiple matches, and it was just like really important to start our game plan of kind of like ripping apart the opponent's hand. And it was definitely better than the fourth Uro would have been in a lot of slots, just because like Uro is just like a very clunky card. You dredge over an Uro, it's just like sometimes you can't even escape it, and if you do, it's almost always your entire turn. Whereas Raven's Crime just like fits so smoothly into whatever else you want to do for the turn. So Apprentice, okay. Crime, great. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this first little dabbling into the new Strixhaven cards. This set is very exciting. There's a lot of cool designs I want to look at, both in this sort of shell and then also in a few other deck types as well. So stay tuned for that. See you later.